Good afternoon, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives. I want to talk about three very separate issues that are all going to be tied back to the same root cause analysis. We're going to talk about the anti-war movement. We're going to talk about anti-fascist. And we're going to talk about anti-neoliberalism. And when you look at the three, they all have one fundamental thing in common. As they stand right now, they're orphan politics. The anti-fascism is over here doing their own thing. The anti-war is over here doing their own thing. And the anti-neoliberalism is doing their own thing. The reality is that all three of them have the same root cause. And because folks say they follow the money, they really don't follow the money. They ignore the fact that causes all this to begin with. I want to be anti-war to the extreme. I want to go out there and march down the street saying, end all wars. But saying that is just putting a Band-Aid on the real issue. So let's rattle them off one at a time. Number one, anti-war. Our entire economy is not just wrapped up in the oil industry, folks. Our economy is interwoven deeply, way down into the core of our entire lives. The military-industrial complex, which has been warned about forever. The military-industrial complex did something masterful in a very, very evil way. And what they did was they spread the production of every single nut, bolt, seat, steering wheel, light bulb, you name it, piece of rubber, washers, wires, pieces of paper, all throughout all of the states in America. Then they selectively pick countries around the US, around the world to invest, to have them build parts of our military-industrial complex as well. The world is tied into the United States military-industrial complex. The entire world is suckling at the murderous teat of the military-industrial complex. If you cut the military, the entire economy will go down the toilet as they've got it built today. It's very, very slick. It's very, very purposeful. And it's very, very, very hard to unwind and unravel. And because of this depth of this Gordian knot, because of that, what you've got is a situation where no one is willing to cut the military spending because it will bring untold destruction to regular people's lives. And they did this on purpose. They did this on purpose. That's why you see cities and states fighting tooth and nail to keep military bases alive and well. Don't close our base, because their entire economy has been based on serving that Air Force base, on serving that Army base, and on serving those defense contractors that are literally living and dying off the killing of human beings around the world. So this right here is an economic discussion. Once again, it's not just marching down the street with your fist in the air saying no more drones, no more war. Again, half measures availed us nothing. We stop at this point where people get about halfway to the solution and then they say, enough, I've gotten as far as I want to go. Let's just end war. I'm all about ending war. Woo, woo, woo. And we have got to actually think beyond the military-industrial complex. And we've got to consider what the replacement is going to be. And we've got to consider how to migrate and shift. Because if we cut, the entire U.S. will go down in the toilet. So will the rest of the world, ironically. It's like drinking poison and saying it's the only way you'll live. It's a very, very, very difficult thing to solve when people refuse to go the final lap and get to the point that this is about economics. They want to sit there, why do you always talk about economics? Because it's the root cause, Knuckles. It's the root cause. And so they've made it so that the entire, well, I'm sorry, if we cut that base, you guys are all going to be out of jobs. I don't know what to tell you. If we stop working on the F-whatever 35 fighter, you guys aren't going to have jobs. If you cut this, if you cut that, if you cut the other, you're not going to have jobs. So all of a sudden, you've got this certain level of spending. And people refuse to understand that that spending goes to families on purpose. This is no accident. Families are tightly interwoven with the military, and they are deeply loyal to their service. And they are deeply patriotic to that service. They've built patriotism, jingoism, all that ism into this package so that when you cut it, it really, really hurts. It doesn't just hurt to bomb people. They've made it so it's life and death if you cut it. It's a lose-lose without a replacement. So what we need to do is we really need to take a step back. And we need to go and say, what can we replace this with? Now, before I give you the replacement for that, I'm going to tell you the next thing. Neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is the same evil as the military-industrial complex. Neoliberalism serves to take away the public space. It takes away the public purpose. And it pushes out that which we depend on for our very lives away from the government, which is not profit-driven, to the private sector that is profit-driven. Now, all of a sudden, they have to make tough choices. They have to make tough choices about whether we save lives or whether we cut costs. This is the result of neoliberalism. So what does the business manual say? The business manual says that we have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of our shareholders. And that means they're going to cut costs. They're going to do risk analysis. Risk analysis says it's cheaper to let you die and pay for a lawsuit than it is to solve the problem and save lives. That's capitalism. That's the Business Manual 101. How do I know that? I have an MBA. That and a bag of chips gives me $127,000 of student loans. So let's take a look momentarily at the many, many ways in which neoliberalism is eating our lunch, eating your and my lunch. The government has decided that they're not going to spend on you and I. They've decided that they are going to make you and I take out a credit card. That you and I are going to go ahead and remortgage our home that has already been paid off maybe. Because they're not going to spend money into the economy. So now all of a sudden, you got bank credit. You hear all these people that don't understand economics talking about how all this bank money's in the economy. You hear all these people that don't understand economics talking about end the Fed and talking about all the Fed money. This is neoliberalism, my friends. It has nothing specifically to do with the Fed. The Fed is doing what Congress and the presidents have made it do. Even though you don't want to believe that, because the conspiracies are more pleasurable to talk about than the reality. But the reality is that neoliberals push neoliberalism. And what they're doing is they are forcing you and I to carry the burden that the state should be carrying. They have taken our basic necessities that the 14th Amendment should clearly take care of with the General Welfare Clause. And they have taken that very fundamental thing and they've put it onto our backs to enslave us, to make us beg for crumbs and be willing to accept them. Neoliberalism makes us cheap labor. Neoliberalism destroys unions. Neoliberalism exacerbates income inequality. Neoliberalism rots your teeth out of your mouth and makes it expensive to afford dental care. Neoliberalism takes away the ability to survive without going deep in usury, in debt. Now the last one, it's going to take a little bit more effort for you to understand. And I understand, sadly, that many people will not understand this and they will have things to say. But I'm going to tell you straight up, I know what the hell I'm talking about here. And it's very important you see the tie into all three of these things. The anti-fascist component of the United States. We have fascism rising because of jingoism from the military-industrial complex. Because of nationalism brought on by the military-industrial complex. By the disparity of income and the desperation and lack of options brought on by neoliberalism. And both of them, with the austerity of this neoliberal mindset of reducing federal budgets and reducing spending, creates a lower class that is competing with the other lower class. And now the little people can't see up at the guy who's fucking them in the head. They're looking at each other and they're saying, I want to be one step above pig slop. I want to be one step above the turds. And so they sit there and they scapegoat the homosexuals. They scapegoat the Jews. They scapegoat the African Americans. They scapegoat the Hispanics. They scapegoat the Chinese. They scapegoat the Muslims. They scapegoat the friggin' people that are unemployed as lazy moochers, wanting a free lunch. These fascists say, what do you want, a free lunch? That's fascism. And then all of a sudden the totalitarian state comes in to make sure, because they know we're going to suffer. They know we're not going to be happy. They know we're going to be miserable. So they impose the Patriot Act. They impose surveillance. They impose things that are literally there to make sure that we can't organize. They throw in these disruptors and these infiltrators to sit there and cock block meaningful change. And it all comes back to following the money. People sit there and they follow the easy money. It's the paper trails for these businesses going back and forth. That is not the one to be focused on. The one to be focused on is the federal lie that the federal government is broke. It's the lie that the federal government is broke, that we've got to eat our peas, that we've got to cut costs. What are you going to do? Get inflation? Another neoliberal lie. Milton Friedman lie. A lie brought to you by right-wing sicko America, libertarians, the right-wing ANCAPs of the world, the Ayn Rand Society of the world. So now you see the tie into the three of them. And then when I come in here and I tell you that MMT is the silver bullet that destroys all of that, people will go wander away. They won't want to read anymore. Oh my God, it's a cult. But the reality is, Congress alone has the power to change every bit of this. We could repurpose our military tomorrow to give us green energy today. We could repurpose so much of the military research and development to produce pharmaceuticals for the people, to find cures for devastating diseases that are not profitable for the pharmaceuticals. We could repurpose the military to come into town and rebuild cities that are destitute and falling apart, like Flint, Michigan. We could rebuild every bridge in America. We could rebuild our schools with state-of-the-art equipment. We could tear apart the old IP version 6 brought to you by, IP version 4 and all the other copper wires running around and make a fully fiber optic IP version 6 high-speed internet service for everyone to have a full multimedia experience to educate our public. We could provide high-speed rail with our military being repurposed to deliver on the public purpose. Because there are laws that say our military cannot come in and do these things, we need to change them to civilians, and we need to repurpose them. Then you implement the federal job guarantee. And the federal job guarantee then in turn tells young people, you do not have to go to the military to survive. You, sir, can serve your local community. You, sir, can serve your local community. We can stop bombing the world to pay for frigging our existence. We can provide Medicare for all that would give thousands of jobs, good paying jobs. The infrastructure bill, rebuilding our levees, rebuilding our crumbling everything. Great blue-collar work for non-skilled and low-skilled and even regular skilled, high-skilled blue-collar work. There is so much work to be done. The idea of a UBI is almost mind-numbing when you think about what we have to do. We have to do it now. You want to stop wars? Somebody had the audacity to say, well, I think we should wait on health care until we end wars. This is the level of non-cognition that goes on right now. People want to put band-aids on heart attacks, and they don't realize that the root cause. And let me tell you something else too. Another key component of neoliberalism, besides scapegoating and bigotry, is the income inequality. Well, what happens when people, regular people, you and I, can no longer lose our job and be completely destitute? No more payday loans. No more deep 28% loans for friggin' just surviving to pay our electric bills. And I love when people ask me this. Let's just talk about this for a minute. Somebody just said a comment. How do you implement this with the two-party system? Now, many of the same people that say, how are you going to implement this with the two-party system, are the same people checking out going and eating berries in the woods, saying that we've got to get fair elections before we're going to worry about policy. Well, how are you going to get fair elections if you're eating berries in the woods? Oh, you're going to rise up and take to the streets? Well, that's the same exact way you're going to do what I just said. But you got to stop negging the people that are giving you the answers. You got to stop swiping their legs out from under them because you didn't bother doing your homework. You got to start learning. The responsibility is on you. You want to learn how to do this? You learn how to do this. You stop cutting the legs out from under people that do know how to do this. And you start embracing the friggin' solutions instead of just pointing out the problems. I just laid out the problems, didn't I? I just told you every one of the problems. But then what did I do that's different than certain other people? I swooped in and gave you an answer, a solution. And after I gave you the solution, somebody gave me the typical hurdle or objection. And then I gave you the answer to that same thing too. Every one of them, answer, 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 answer. Because the answers are there for our taking. It's up to you to care enough to make it happen. I'm one guy. And I love you guys. And I want you to be able to survive and thrive. I want all of our families to survive and thrive. And I want to see wars ended. And I want to see bigotry and racism ended. And I want to see anti-homosexual stuff ended. I want to see all of our people in the United States treated equally and around the world. I want to see everybody live a life of abundance with a sustainable planet with green energy and healthcare. But it's not going to happen if people keep going, yeah, man, never going to happen, man. Duopoly and stuff. The oligarchs never let it happen, man. I'm like, cool. Hold on, I gotta get my black mascara because I'm like so goth. I'm so cool. Like totally and stuff. I mean, this is the stuff, right? This is the stuff that we've got to overcome. And it's not even the oligarchs that are doing it. It's our own people in our own midst telling us we can't. I'm gonna die trying. How about that? I may not be successful, but I'm going to die trying. Stop saying you can't. The first rule of Fight Club isn't don't talk about Fight Club in this case. It is never say we can't. Never, ever, ever allow defeatism to block people that are willing to try. We have got to rise up as a people and demand this. If you want to see the end of wars, I don't really want to see you running around with your fist in the air anymore if you don't know what the friggin' score is. I don't want to see you running around using the word neoliberal if you don't know what the word means. Do your homework. It's important to be educated. It's important to know these things because you have a responsibility to each one teach one. That's the only way our numbers grow. That's the only way that we pull together and make real radical change happen. Chris Hedges has said it. Ralph Nader has said it. Friggin' David Cobb has said it. Bernie Sanders has said it. People across the board have said it. Your very own alternative media outlets have said it. I have said it countless times. You won't listen. You keep saying, but what do we do? The oligarchs, the duopoly. I can't do anything. I'm paralyzed. Let's go eat berries in the woods. Let's go have a campfire and do some soul dancing. Folks, this is a doer's game. Living is a doer's game. Living is a doer's game. You want to live? We have to do. This is a war. Hopefully it's a bulletless war, a bloodless war. Hopefully it's a war that we use our brains for. But if you see people out there cutting the legs out from people fighting to stop war, fighting to save lives, fighting to feed the poor, fighting to give people an education, fighting across the board to stop racism and bigotry, and you allow people a foothold to block that or to in any way, shape, or form negate that without a firm rebuttal and a rebuking, you haven't done much. Don't tell me you're a revolutionary if you're too busy going, yeah, man, it's all like totally undoable and stuff, man. Like totally done. I mean, like for real and stuff, you know? Can't do anything, man. We're all useless. We're all just at the mercy. We can't do anything. Do you know how sick I get when I hear that stuff? Do you know how badly that breaks my heart to think that people that claim to be revolutionary are co-opting the word revolutionary while they sit there and tell people they can't do something? Do you think revolution's easy? Is that what you thought? You just go, hey, revolution. I'm on Facebook, revolution. It's not going to be that way. This is a really tough deal, man. We got a really, really deeply entrenched enemy. It is impossible if you just sit there and cut the legs out from under the people fighting. When people don't understand economics and they run around trying to cut the legs out from people that do understand economics, they are literally killing people. They are condemning people to death. When someone says, what do you want, a free lunch? They are literally pressing for people to die and for racism and xenophobia to continue. If you ever see anyone say, well, people are just looking for somebody to bail them out of their bad choices, you know that you're dealing with someone who's really, really, really fundamentally bad. A bad, bad person. And we have to rise above their evil and make it happen. And we've got to educate even these bad, bad people And when they're stubborn, we need to walk away and keep finding people that are willing. It really is up to us, folks. I just sat there and nailed off military-industrial complex, anti-war, anti-neoliberalism, and anti-fascist. In one fell swoop, I just knocked them all down. And I gave you the friggin' answer, the solution, the score, and how to do it. Don't tell me that I didn't tell you how to do it. Don't tell me I gave you empty words like some bozos have said. Don't tell me that. I just laid it out in spades. If you're willing to take to the streets to stop one pipeline, be willing to take to the streets en masse to end the or to bring about a real anti-war movement, to bring about a real anti-neoliberalism movement, and to bring about a real anti-bigotry, xenophobia, fascism movement. You want to do it? It all boils down to economics, because people that are content and have a life of abundance don't sit there and spend their time wasting it hating people. When they've got their teeth fixed, they don't have a reason to be jealous. When they got their heart attack fixed, they don't have a reason to be jealous. When they're not worried about their house being repossessed, they don't have a reason to be jealous. And when they get fired from their job and they land into another job immediately because there's jobs everywhere, they don't hate the guy over there who's sitting there blowing the leaves and speaks Spanish. There's no reason for bigotry and xenophobia other than it is instituted by our neoliberal government. It's up to you and I to bring about the change we want to see. And if we fail, let us fail trying. Modern monetary theory is not a theory at all. It is a description of the way our currency works in the United States. You look down in Houston, Texas, and you realize people are trying to fix Houston, Texas with donations. Why is that? Because we've been led to believe our government is impotent. Puerto Rico is bankrupt, yet we've been led to believe our federal government is bankrupt and impotent. Detroit, Michigan won't fix the water for the people in Flint, because we've been led to believe that our federal government is destitute, bankrupt, and incapable of solving big problems. That, my friends, is neoliberalism. Do you want to win? Or do you want to keep knocking the legs out from under people trying to help you win this war? I've even addressed income inequality. When people aren't paying through the nose for student loans, when people aren't paying through the nose for credit cards to bail them out during bad times, the wealthy stop collecting that interest. The wealthy stop capitalizing on our misery. And the income gap goes like this. Don't tell me I haven't addressed income inequality. Don't tell me it. I won't have it anymore. It's a lie. I just nailed so many things in one live stream. I feel like I could take a week off. It's up to you guys to take this information, share it around, get people on board. And you see people negate you, give them a chance, teach them for a minute. If they don't get it, move on, dust off and go. Bounce. So anyway, with that said, I hope to God you guys learned something today. I hope to God you guys realize that we are more powerful than any of these shitbirds out there eating berries tell you you are. It's up to us. No more defeatism. No more trolls. Let's just get her done. Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Have a great day, everybody.